What's up guys, welcome to Wasted Space, and we're back in Space Engineers with the very first of my viewer challenges. Now on my last video I had a very good suggestion from Shady Steps that I, instead of just doing ideas that you guys came up with, made it into more of a challenge. So the idea here is, you guys set me a challenge, some sort of task I need to complete, and then I come up with some sort of solution, some sort of craft, whatever it might be, to solve that challenge. So again, he also, Shady Steps that is, put forward the very first challenge too. So what we have in front of us here is my response to that. And what he wanted me to do was create a drone or a ship capable of fighting inside enemy craft. So the idea is, this is your boarding attack drone that goes on board inside the ship to disable it, take out the crew, and leave the ship itself free for you to then capture. And of course this means that it's going to need to be small, it's going to need to be manoeuvrable and capable of manoeuvring around in corridors essentially 1 block by 1 block big, and also it's going to have certain sacrifices because of that. So you're going to need to, essentially because the design is so small, you're going to need to make some sacrifices to make sure that it's all functional. So what we have here is what I've come up with so far, and as usual there is a few variants of this. So I'll go through them and then I'll show you the final design I came to. So we have 4 very similar variants, and they are based off this 4 long 2 blocks big design. Oh sorry, 5 long 2 blocks big in this case. And they are functional, they work just fine. As you see, all I've done really is tried my very best to tuck everything in really tightly here. And on these variants I've included some warheads, so that once you have succeeded in your mission, or potentially even failed in your mission, you can detonate the craft to either cause further damage or prevent it being captured by the enemy. So we have a couple of variants of that. These two here are the sort of the 5x2 variants, and then I decided to shrink it a little bit into this 4x2 variant we have here. And these of course are even tighter and even smaller. And literally the only blocks I've included on these are the ones necessary for it to fly. So we have an antenna, we have a gyroscope, we have a remote control block which is tucked in there, and we have a reactor. Aside from that, it is just engines, a gun and a camera. That's all I've decided to put on these. And that led to an intrinsic problem. So when I first tried these out against an actual hostile target, because that's been one of the complaints recently about how I've sort of done my videos, is there's not been enough testing when the enemy's shooting back, which can be a little bit difficult, but in this case is perfect. I've just set up some interior turrets as a sort of pretty basic defense system. And all 4 of these variants, so that one there, this one, that one and that one, and the main difference is these 2 middle ones are that 4x2 design, one with warheads and one without, and this one and the one on the other end are the 5x2 design, one with warheads and one without. And they all have the same problem, and that is, and I can demonstrate this really easily if I just grab out a weapon. Oh, we don't have one. Let's grab one. Automatic rifle. Okay, so if I now equip this weapon, I can show you very clearly what the problem is. I mean, you can guess what the problem is with this one. Bit of an issue. This one, the problem's a bit less obvious, but if I just shoot there, oh look, it's now in 2 pieces and the antenna's gone, so you've lost control of it. So I very quickly worked out that while you could make these things very small, they were also hideously fragile. The second any sort of turret touched them, they'd fall to pieces. I mean, that one's actually been blown up by the one next to it. And the same problem with this. You just shoot at the front for a bit, and the end result is going to be the antenna's gone. This one's actually in one piece still by those things. Maybe this front portion's come off. Yep, the front portion's come off. And the antenna is destroyed. So you would no longer be in control of that ship. So my final design was this, which is a little bit larger, although only a little bit. It's still the 5 long, 2 tall, but the design ethic with this one was very much that I needed to protect the cameras and I needed to have the ship remain in one piece. So rather than just shoot randomly at this one, let's actually go and try it out, because behind me here we have the start of my new world. So I've completely started afresh, and the first thing I decided to build was actually a station rather than stick it on any sort of asteroid. So this is kind of, I don't know, 60% done. The middle section's pretty much complete exterior, little bit of interior work still to do, and this sort of ring docking system around the outside I'm not going to go too much into because I've got something clever I'm doing with that, hopefully. But that's obviously not very complete at all. But let's go and give this a go. So as usual, I've got a little block here set up so I can remote control. And we're going just to jump into Armorbot, which is the only one left now. and give them a control. Now, we got 3 cameras on it. The idea here was redundancy. So if one camera gets destroyed, the other ones are there as backups. And we're just going to go in and see what we can do about infiltrating this base. And this base is defended, as I said. There are interior turrets in here. So we're going to come into the hangar bay, and we're going to try and go up from within one of the hangars. So, as you can see, this thing moves quite nicely. It's small enough that you can sort of move around. So far, no enemy resistance. Oh, hang on. So, in this case, I don't even think I need to expose myself to him. There we go. Interior turret done. Let's continue our advance inside. Now, you've got to remember with this, the camera is mounted quite low down. So, it's best to keep your point of view near the floor. And that will be the easiest way to make sure that you're sort of not banging into things. But yeah, up that staircase. This area looks relatively clear. A few gravity generators, but nothing really worth taking out here. So let's continue up. Again, up the staircase. Looks like I've knocked myself slightly, but it's resilient enough that that doesn't really matter. And again, this looks like we're coming into quite a large open area. Should be careful here. There are probably going to be some sort of defences. Let's swing ourselves around and pop up for a quick peek. Nothing visible. So let's head over towards the staircase over there. And that's what happens if you let yourself get too high up. Oh, hang on. We have enemy fire. I wonder if I can take him out just by shooting there. Yep. That interior turret dealt with, so let's continue our advance. Oh, in fact, we have some reactors here. This is a juicy target. Okay, so their power should be out now, so we shouldn't have any further problems with defensive turrets. So let's go up this double staircase, see what we can see. And... oh. Yes, that would have been a nasty one had we not taken out the power on the way up, but let's finish him off anyway and continue on up to the control deck. So again, this is the sort of what I dictated to be the real test, is if this ship can fit through one of these holes, then that's good enough. It's never going to be having to deal with anything smaller than that. And looks like here we are up on the ops deck, which is as yet incomplete. So let's blow our way out of here. And we have escaped. And I would call that mission success. We've even killed the antenna that I know was just there. So yeah, that's gone through the inside of there, and as you saw, we did take a few hits from the front, and that's kind of the nice part about this design, is it will take a few hits from the front without too much problem. If I run up and just try the old machine gun trick again on the front of this, you can see, as yet, undamaged. Nothing's actually been knocked around or anything. And if I, as they tend to, shoot at the antenna, nothing happening. And this recessed camera here is the one I'm using, and that's the one that really seems to survive. These ones get blown off because they're at the front. But eventually, even when you've had all this sort of fire into the front of it, that one will still be standing. So this is what I'd say is my final attack drone design. Obviously you could, if you wished, replace the rocket launcher for a machine gun instead, a Gatling gun instead. I personally think that these are what you need for this job. Those interior turrets do quite a bit of damage to something this small. This enables you to take them out really easily, really effectively, and as you saw at times, round corners and so on. As far as building concerns with one of these, I mean, as I already covered, you need to make sure the thing is properly connected together. So not only have you got to be quite clever with how you lay out all the blocks, making sure that, you know, here I made sure that I placed everything that was long first. So all the single blocks like the gyroscope, the reactor and so on, they got placed last because they were easy to fill in holes. Whereas placing these thrusters so they don't poke out the edge of the ship, or the antenna so they don't poke out the edge, that was the bit that I kind of started off with so that I could build the design. The only thing you've got to take into account when you're doing that is the pesky gyroscope, wherever it is on this one. There we go, that gyroscope there. You can't stick anything to that. So wherever that goes, it kind of breaks the design a bit, because that front panel won't be stuck to it. No, the only place you can stick it to anything is on the bottom. So the gyroscope's a little bit difficult. But aside from that, a relatively simple design that seems to be relatively effective. So, thanks a lot for that, Shady Steps. Really interesting challenge, had quite a lot of fun with that, especially as I ended up building a space station to test it in. But if there's anything more coming out there, I've got a few more written down. Anybody else with a challenge, hit me up. As I said, you just got to set me some sort of problem to solve, and I will try and come up with a space engineer solution for it. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you found that interesting in the slightest, liked it at all, please hit that like, please hit the subscribe, really helps me out. And I will catch you next time.